meeting, but we'll try not to let that delay us further. There's a couple of formal items I need to go through on the agenda first of all, and then we'll ask people to introduce themselves and move on to the first application. So if I can firstly do the webcasting announcement, and this is just to advise you that the meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing or use by third parties. So if you're seated down here, it's likely the recording cameras will capture your image, and therefore your image will become part of that broadcast. If you want to avoid that, you can move upstairs. Do you have any apologies for absence?
No apologies.
Okay. Do you have any declarations of interest? Okay. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the process for the meeting, we will start with introductions. I'll then ask the licensing officer to introduce the item. The applicant then has an opportunity to put their case. Are you objectors over at the back? Do we have any objectors present?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Should any objectors be here, they had the opportunity to ask any questions. We will clearly take account of the objectors' written statements when we come to make a decision. Members will have the chance to ask questions. You'll have a chance to make a closing statement. We'll then retire to make a decision and come back here to announce the decision. Should you need to go, you're welcome to go, and the decision will be transmitted to you afterwards. So my name's John Whitehouse. I'm the chairman of the licensing subcommittee this afternoon. I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves to the right.
I'm Councillor Paul Stalker.
Councillor Tim Matthews, part of the licensing committee.
And we've got officers to advise us on the left.
Yeah. Graham Oakley, legal advisor.
And Adrian Henry, Democratic Services Officer.
Okay, if I could ask you to introduce yourselves, going from left to right. If you can turn on your microphone before you start, that'd be helpful.
My name is Suleiman Kasakol. I'm his partner.
Thank you.
My name is Hassan Kaliskan from Atlas Licensing.
Suleiman Hayri, the licensing.
Nigel Carter, Carter Consultancy, representing applicant.
Okay, and if we go to the back and then the front.
Yes, good afternoon. Ronald McManus, Senior Licensing Officer from Essex Police.
Nikki Glasscock, Environmental Enforcement Officer, Epping Forest Council.
Thank you.
I'm Vince Martirano, Managing Director of Vince's Restaurant.
Okay. Hannah Gould, Licensing Compliance Officer.
David King, Licensing Manager.
Okay, and Councillor Stocker.
Sorry, Councillor David Stocker, I'm part of the licensing, but I'm not on this subject.
Okay, well thank you very much everyone. We'll move on to the application, and I'll ask if you can introduce it please.
Yep, thank you. So Atlas Licensing Limited, on behalf of Suleiman Hayri, have applied to Licensing Officer Epping Forest District Council for a new premises licence in respect of Zagros Market, 8 Highbridge Street, Waltham Abbey, EN9 1DG, which is a grocery store. The application was received on the 15th of November 2022 and seeks to supply alcohol during the following hours and for consumption off the premises. Monday to Sunday, 8 AM to 2300. The opening hours will be the same. The consultation period ran from the 16th of November 2022 to the 13th of December 2022. All responsible authorities have received a copy of the application. It was also advertised at the premises and in the local newspaper. All residents and businesses within a 150-metre radius were also informed by letter. Whilst we had no objection from responsible authorities, conditions have been agreed with Essex Police and Child Protection Services. The authority has received 2 objections from local residents. In determining this application, the subcommittee may take any of the following steps as it considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, namely to grant the licence as applied for, subject to the conditions mentioned in the operating schedule, modified as the subcommittee considers necessary for the promotion of the objectives, and the mandatory conditions specified in the Licensing Act 2003, or to exclude from the scope of the licence any licensable activity to which the application relates, or refuse to specify a person as the premises supervisor, or reject the application. That's it, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. I should highlight there are 2 bits of paper for today. There was the main agenda and there was a supplementary agenda with the introductory bit, so hopefully you've seen both bits of paper. Okay, if I can hand over to you to explain your application.
Thank you and good afternoon, councillors. This, I suggest, is a fairly straightforward application for a new premises licence for Zagros Market located at 8 Highbridge Street, Waltham Abbey, for the sale by retail of alcohol from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Sunday. The applicant, Mr. Suleiman Hayerli, accompanies me here today with Mr. Kaliskan from Atlas Licensing. As you've heard from your officer, there are 2 objections to this application from residents, both of whom reside at the same address. Their concerns, which are identical, are in relation to additional crime and disorder and public nuisance, which they believe may be caused should members grant this application. I would, however, point out that none of the responsible authorities nor the police have objected to this application, so we can safely assume that they do not believe that it would have an adverse effect on the 4 licensing objectives. And as you've heard, all suggested conditions have been agreed. The premises themselves are situated in Highbridge Street, a short distance from Waltham Abbey itself, and in a row of shops which also includes 2 other off licences, as well as a nearby public house. Jay's Convenience Store, several doors along at 28 Highbridge Street, has a premises licence for sale by retail of alcohol from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. Monday to Saturday until 10:30 p.m. on Sunday. Abbey off licence on the opposite side of the road at 19 Highbridge Street has a premises licence permitting the sale by retail of alcohol from 6 a.m. until midnight Monday to Saturday and until 10 p.m. on Sunday, whilst the Crown Public House around the corner in Romeland is permitted to sell alcohol from 10 a.m. until midnight Sunday to Thursday until 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. The hours we are requesting do not extend the hours for sales of alcohol from those which are already permitted in nearby premises. Zagros Market is a grocery and convenience store which also wishes to sell alcohol, and it's accepted that it will compete with the other 2 off licences I refer to, but it will not, in my submission, impact adversely on the licensing objectives in relation to public nuisance and crime and disorder. The addition of another off licence, should the application be granted, whilst offering a wider choice to customers coming to the area to buy groceries and alcohol, will not in itself attract additional people to the locality or add to the problems of noise, drunkenness and disorder referred to in the residents' objections, I suggest. From researching the crime statistics for this area on Essex Police website over a 12-month period from December 2021 till November 2022, which is the most recent month for which there's data, there were a total of 47 crimes recorded within a 100-metre radius from 8 Highbridge Street. These mainly consisted of offences of violence, antisocial behaviour, public order and thefts. Over 83% of these crimes, 39 out of the 47 recorded, were in the vicinity of the Crown Public House, which would imply that the problems of drunkenness, noise and public nuisance stem from people frequenting the local pub rather than those buying from off licences. Zagros Market is not situated in a cumulative impact zone, and as stated in paragraph 1.44 of the Council's licensing policy, the Council recognises that the licensing law is not a mechanism for the general control of antisocial behaviour by individuals once they are away from the premises and beyond the direct control of the licence holder. My client has agreed conditions with the police such as CCTV condition, Challenge 25 policy and regular staff training, which I would argue adequately promote the 4 licensing objectives. And he is aware that should the premises become a concern, then the premises licence can be reviewed. I have attempted to engage with both objectors to see if there's anything further that my client can do or conditions we can offer to allay their concerns, but they failed to respond to me. Mr. Hayerley has held his personal licence for over 15 years and has managed a supermarket in Enfield for the past 10. He is also a partner in a restaurant in Barnet for the past 4 years. He is an experienced licensee and he assures members that his will be a well-run establishment, complying fully with their premises licence conditions and promoting the licensing objectives. I would ask members to grant this application for new premises licence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, perhaps Mr. Heary, as the DPS proposed, can you just say a bit more about, what you think, the most, based on your experience, what you think the most important things about managing or the store will be, and what you'll be doing as a DPS?
Well, I've been managing the different store for over 15 years. As he mentioned, I'm managing a restaurant as well, which we sell alcohol to our customers. Talking about in the market, I do train my staff not to sell any alcohol to people underage, officers' uniforms and drunk people, already drunk. So I've been doing this for quite many years. I'm well aware of what's going to happen if I do break the law. So I've been doing for quite many years. I've never done it.
So there are no further questions from anyone present. So we will withdraw, make a decision, and then come back and let you know what the outcome is. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, I'm about to read out the decision. I'll just check we're ready on the webcast. Excellent. Right, so the Licensing Committee considers the application satisfies the necessary requirements in order to be considered, as it's on the prescribed form, has been advertised and relevant notifications given. The subcommittee has taken into account the relevant written and oral representations, the 4 licensing objectives, the Council's licensing policy and the Secretary of State's guidance. And during our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. The decision of the Licensing Subcommittee is the application for a premises licence in respect of Zagros Market, 8 Highbury Street, be granted for consumption of alcohol off the premises Monday to Sunday between 800 hours and 2300 hours, with opening hours for the same times, subject to the following conditions, which in the opinion of this licensing subcommittee are reasonable, proportionate and in the public interest for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Firstly, the conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule submitted by the applicant within the agenda. Secondly, the premises shall clearly display signs at each point of sale and in areas where alcohol is displayed, advising customers that a Challenge 25 policy is in force, and all staff engaged in the sale of alcohol at the premises shall have received training in respect of this policy and how to recognise drunkenness and the duty not to serve drunken persons. Refresher training shall be carried out at least every 6 months. Thirdly, the refusals record must be updated as soon as possible after any refusal of sale of alcohol and in any event within 4 hours of the refusal, and the records must be made available immediately to the police, trading standards or licensing authority staff upon reasonable request. The records will be retained for a minimum of 12 months from the date of the last entry. Fourthly, all staff training records shall be retained at the premises and be available for inspection at any time in either electronic or paper format and be retained for a minimum of 12 months. And we are also attaching the mandatory conditions contained in sections 19 to 21 of the Licensing Act 2003. The applicant and persons who made relevant representations are reminded of their right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of the written notification of this decision. The applicant's also reminded that if the conditions of the licence are breached, the matter can be reviewed by the licensing subcommittee and the premises licence can be looked at again. Thank you for coming along this afternoon. Apologies for late start and good luck with your ventures. Are we expecting anyone else, or is everyone in the room? Okay. Okay, all set. You were here for the introductions earlier, so you know who everyone is. Just to remind you that the procedure of asking schools to introduce the application, you'll then get the chance to explain why you think the application should be granted. The officers here can ask questions on that if they want. They'll then get a chance to explain their representations. You can ask them questions. Members can ask both of you questions after your statements as well. You then get the opportunity to make a closing statement, and first your closing statement, then your closing statement, and then we'll go off and make a decision in the same way as last time. So if you're ready, I'll ask Ms. Gould if you can introduce the application, please.
Okay, so La Regina Restaurant Limited have applied to the licensing office at Epping Forest District Council for a variation to their premises licence in respect of Vince's Restaurant and Bar, 58 Sun Street, Waltham Abbey, EN9 1EJ. The application was received on the 30th of November and seeks to vary the existing hours as follows. The supply of alcohol Monday to Wednesday to now be 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Thursday to Saturday 11 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. and Sundays 12 midday to 1:30 a.m. Live and recorded music would be Sunday to Wednesday 12 midday to 2300, Thursday midday to midnight, Friday and Saturday midday to 1:30 a.m. Late night refreshment would be Sunday to Wednesday 2300 to 1:30 a.m. Thursday to Saturday 2300 to 2:30 a.m. and the opening hours will also be extended, so Monday to Wednesday 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Thursday to Saturday 11 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. and Sunday 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. An additional hour for the Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve stroke New Year's Day to start of permitted hours on the following day, but that was as before. The consultation period ran from the 1st of December to the 28th of December. All responsible authorities have received a copy of the application. It was advertised at the premises and in the local newspaper. All residents and businesses within a 150-metre radius were also informed by letter. The authority has received 3 objections from local residents, 1 objection from the Council's Safer Communities Department, and 1 objection from Essex Police. In determining this application, the subcommittee may take any of the following steps as it considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, namely to grant the variation as applied for, to modify the variation submitted, or to reject the whole or part of the application. For the purposes of the Licensing Act 2003, the conditions of the licence are modified if any of them are altered or omitted or a new condition added. That's it. Thanks.
So I'll now ask you to present your case, please.
So, obviously, Evolution, previously, I know there's a couple of complaints saying obviously they're happy the way it is. It's local residents, but business, restaurant business has changed since COVID. So we are finding that the hours that we're running aren't sufficient for the business that we're doing. So I've had to evolve into more private events, food, Uber, deliveries, going out later. So we're having to be there later at night. And what we are finding is that where we are there later, we have another premise across the road which has a 2 o'clock licence. So what's happening is we're losing customers to the Pink Zebra Club because they have that extra hour later. So we're okay for the first part of the evening, and then we empty out quite early. So all I kind of really want to do is be the same as the other bar. So where we have our customers in, who are in for food, well, ultimately we're not a club, but we have people come and dine and they stay till late. So I'm trying to retain those drinking customers so they stay in the premises rather than move out and go across the road.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask the applicant? Okay, do members have any questions they'd like to ask? Yeah.
Just in relation, excuse me, just in relation to the times, are these just a direct mirror of the competitors' times? And you touched on the commercial element there with regards to the staying open till 2:30 a.m. Obviously, you're not looking to stay open that late with the music, but to carry on with late night refreshments and the supply of alcohol. What I want to try and understand is how necessary that is from a commercial aspect. Is it just a case of competition with other premises and organisations, or is it a case of the viability of your business needing to stay to that time? Thank you.
It kind of intertwines with what you're saying. So, yes, it's kind of necessary to commercially to survive because of the pattern I'm seeing. Like I said before, it's literally, you will find that 11 o'clock where normally people might stay till 1 because, like myself, we don't really allow people to come in late drinking, especially obviously we see they're already intoxicated. For me, it doesn't benefit my business. However, 11 o'clock, people are already rushing out the door because they know they can go across the road and drink till 2. It is kind of commercial, financially, it's quite a big, it's a big issue. So obviously we're changing. Naturally, the business is different, and I say that because people don't come out since COVID. People coming out for dinner is not the same as it used to be 2 years ago. So what we're finding now, business is about coming out for birthdays, for bigger events. So you'll come out in bigger groups where you'll be out drinking and staying out till late, because that might be the only time that you come out. So it's the small stuff in between which is disappearing. So we have to kind of maximise the parties and the groups. Those are the parties that want to stay till late drinking. So that's why it's quite important for us financially. We are losing money, and I've seen 25% decrease in sales over the last kind of 2 years, where the coming out to dinner is few and far between. People just walking into the restaurant can have a table for 2, a table for 4. Doesn't happen so much now. But we're getting called, we need 12, 15, 20 people because they're coming out for a birthday or for whatever occasion it might be. And it's holding on to those. That's what's basically keeping my business alive. I've had to change the whole business model of what we're doing. We're to the point where we actually section off the restaurant for different groups, because we're not really having dinner dates anymore as such. Obviously we still get it, but the bulk of our business now is events, parties, because that's where people are saying, right, it's a birthday, we have the money to go out for your birthday, we're going out. Those people now who want to go out for 4 people, they haven't got the disposable income to say, let's go out for dinner, because they have no reason to go out, because it's almost wasteful. So that's where I kind of see it.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for that. Just sort of following on from your response, with relation to sort of staff and being able to police and provide a safe, controlled environment, do you see any issues with that in terms of having to obviously go into that later period? I'm sure you'll have to have shift workers working later shifts and earlier shifts. Do you see any issue with how you can keep maintaining a safe environment going later into the evening?
To be honest, it's the same thing. It's another hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Shift pattern might change slightly. Our evening doesn't really start now till about 6, between 6 and 7. The day trade has kind of disappeared. I've actually, from this month, I've shut an extra 2 days a week. We're going to be closing lunchtime now, because there's not enough business in Waltham Abbey for us to be there at lunchtime. So it's just a matter of the staff I've got. We're going to shift their work pattern. Staff is staff. It's always going to be difficult to staff, but they're always safe. I have a good team. I'm there. For me, that side of it, safety of my staff, safety of my customers, is not the issue. I'm comfortable that I can look after that side of it.
The question I was going to ask is exactly one that Tim asked.
Okay, perhaps I can just ask, obviously the police have objected on the basis that they're concerned that you'll become a magnet for patrons dispersing from other locations if you open late. What you've just told us is it's mainly for the benefit of people who are already in the premises, who you want to be able to stay with you for longer. And the police have suggested a condition which doesn't allow admissions after midnight, which I understand that you've rejected. I wonder if you sort of talk us through why, if it's to keep people on the premises rather than attract new people, why you're resistant to that condition.
I didn't reject the people before the 12. It was the whole thing, because I was quite happy not to allow people in after 12 o'clock.
Right.
As long as I can get my 2:30. Listen, I'm even happy to go to 2 o'clock if that makes you happy, but I need to be at least the same as the Pink Zebra. They're the other place closest to me that's open to that time. If it means that I stop people coming in after 12, I'm fine with that. 90% of the time, I have had people try to get in after 12. I turn them away anyway, because I'm not interested in drunk people coming in and spoiling a night for my customers I already have. Like I said, I'm not a bar club environment. So most of the people that are in the venue, they've been with each other. So there's always a nice atmosphere. So I'm always there to maintain my reputation and the atmosphere of my business rather than making an extra couple of quid of some drunk person coming in.
Okay, no, thanks for that. And can I just clarify, one of the measures you suggest on page 61 is about the terrace area at the front of the premises. Can you just clarify, because we don't have a plan here because it's a variation, is that an open terrace area to which the public have access, or?
So it's not open, no. It's all closed. It's glassed and roofed.
Right.
So yeah,
fine.
And there's obviously an entrance to get into it. So yeah, it's not open.
So this is about keeping the windows open to the terrace so noise doesn't come from the terrace
correct.
out to the wider area. Okay, no, that's helpful clarification. Right, well, if there's no more questions from members, we can hear the representations from neighbourhoods. So, hand over to you.
Okay, the Community Resilience Team make comment on licensing applications under the objective the prevention of public nuisance. We assess any application and determine how we believe noise is likely to affect neighbouring properties. We'll assess noise in terms of music and also people noise and the dispersal of customers from the area once the premises has closed. In terms of live and recorded music, we would agree for this to be extended until midnight on Thursdays and until midnight on Friday and Saturdays. In addition, we also ask that a condition is added to the licence whereby all amplified sound is to be played through a noise limiter and the level is set by an officer. The premises now seek the supply of alcohol and opening hours until 1:30 a.m. Sunday to Wednesday and until 2:30 a.m. Thursday until Saturday. We would have concern with these hours being granted as it will naturally impact local residents. This premises has residential properties opposite and also above commercial premises on Fox's Parade. Late at night and into the early hours, the background noise will naturally drop. Therefore, residents will be more sensitive to any noise that they do hear. An increase in these hours will attract customers from other premises that have closed earlier, which will generate more noise, which would also be a concern with the dispersal of customers once the premises has closed. At closing, people will be leaving. There is likely to be raised voices from ongoing conversations. People will be waiting for taxis, and there will also be noise from the taxis when they arrive. Should the hours requested be granted, this could mean that on any day of the week, residents could still be disturbed by customers of the venue beyond 2 a.m. and at weekends beyond 3 a.m. This can disturb sleep and impact residents' day-to-day life. We therefore request there is no change in the hours for supply of alcohol and opening hours to secure against additional noise at hours which will have maximum impact for neighbouring residents.
Okay, thank you for that. You can make general comments when you come to your closing statement, but if you've got any specific questions you want to ask Ms Glasscock, now's the time to do it. Did you want to ask anything?
Just a question on you saying about the noise limiter situation. For me, I understand, but we're not the kind of venue which that would work because we have different spaces, we have DJs coming in, we have different people coming in. I just feel that it won't work financially for us and it will be too restrictive for us to be able to run the venue as we run it by having that kind of system in place. But listen, I agree, I understand what you're saying about the noise after late, but we're not the only venue. It's a town centre location. There's other pubs, like I said, we have another Pink Zebra bar, they're already doing it. I understand you're trying to reduce it, but I believe that it's unfair to use that as an excuse for me to say, right, well, because you're going to open it late, your customers are going to cause all that grief. The residents are all the way around, so they've already set a precedent for them being open later. So.
Okay, in terms of the noise limiter, it's a standard condition that we request on a lot of premises licence now moving forward. It is to secure against noise nuisance. That is what we're looking at here. I understand that you'll have DJs coming in, but what we do ask that all amplified sound goes through that noise limiter. It protects the residents and it also protects you from actually ending up with a noise abatement notice being served. You do also have a terrace area, so we do need to be aware of when you've got doors and windows open. So the idea of the limiter is so we can be sure from setting the level that you can have music that will not cause a statutory nuisance to local residents. That's why we request that condition. Also, in terms of the area that you say it is, yes, it's true that there is another premises that currently has slightly longer hours. However, as the officer that is responsible for this particular area, I can say firsthand the existing noise complaints that we continue to deal with, that we are continually working to resolve these noise complaints. Increasing these hours to 1:30 a.m. or to 2:30 a.m. would clearly exacerbate any existing noise that we are constantly dealing with as a team.
Any more questions? Do members have any questions? Okay. Can you say a bit more? I mean, you talked about noise complaints in the area rather than noise complaints specifically arising from these premises. Can you say a bit more about the current noise environment and where the complaints are coming from, or what are they caused by?
So we have had noise complaints received for this particular premises. Granted, not as many as some premises. However, I believe the hours that they currently have kind of limit the noise complaints that we are going to receive. We do receive a lot of noise complaints for the premises that the gentleman has actually referred to, which has caused us issues, which has seen noise abatement notices issued, and that is something that we constantly are trying to deal with. Even to this day, we still get noise complaints, and it's at the later at night and early hours of the morning, so 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop residents from having to deal with noise at those times, because it will impact them more, because there is less background noise, you've got less traffic noise. We do also have, there is a fish shop which is on Fox's Parade. The opening hours of this premises is currently 1 a.m. There can be noise from that when people leave other venues in Sun Street, which is nearby to this. There is also an off licence which is opposite the fish bar, and they have similar hours. So the premises that are existing in the area, and even premises on Sun Street in Waltham Abbey, have similar hours to what this premises currently has.
Okay, thanks very much.
Chairman, sorry. Perhaps at this stage I should generally remind people that you are looking at this application on its own merits and not considering other aspects, how other premises are affecting Waltham Abbey. You're looking at this premises alone.
Yes.
And there is no cumulative effect policy.
No.
I just remind everyone in open session.
Councillor Matthews. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Just if you could please explain to me a little bit more about the noise limiter. Obviously the clue is in the title of what it does, but in terms of how much that would limit the applicant's business, have we got any sort of reference in terms of decibels that they're currently operating this noise level and it would limit them down to a particular noise? Is there a set limit so we can kind of understand how much of an impact that would have on the applicant's business, please? Oh.
Unfortunately, I can't actually give a decibel level, shall we say, because when we are assessing music and whether something is a statutory nuisance, what we are judging is what the average person would deem a nuisance. So it's not that I can say above a certain decibel level and you will cause a nuisance. It's, you know, what the average person would deem to be a nuisance. The reason that we request for a noise limiter is quite simply that when the music exceeds that level, it will cut off, so it won't be able to go any louder. It means that we can have more assurances that the premises will not cause a nuisance. We also can take into account Obviously, in the summer months when doors will be open, when windows will be open, automatically, as soon as you open the doors and windows, the music will come out of the premises. So we also have to take that into account, which is specifically why we request with the noise limiter that an officer actually goes out to the premises and we are able to assess it. But unfortunately, I can't give you a decibel level. There isn't a decibel level that I can say if you're below that, you're not going to cause a nuisance. If you're above that, you will cause a nuisance. It all varies. It can vary in terms of wind direction, whether there's a window open, whether people are in a terrace area and there's only glass there, or whether they're actually in the main building. Everything can affect the noise and how it travels.
Could you just confirm for me if other premises in the area, I know we're looking at this one on its own merit, but just so I have an understanding of other businesses in the area, likely businesses have noise limiters fitted, or is this something that we're looking to introduce more?
There's a lot of licensed premises within the district that have noise limiters. As a team, it's something that we, if it's not added, a lot of licenses, any applications for variations, many people will actually put the condition themselves that they will have a noise limiter because it secures them as much as the residents. However, as a team, we are keen for a noise limiter to be on a lot of premises, and I can confirm, really, for any premises that is open at these times, I would say about 80% of them will all have a noise limiter.
Okay. Right, if that's the end of questions, Ms Glassclock, were you going to say anything as well, or? Yeah, so this is your opportunity.
Good afternoon, I'm Ronan McManus representing Essex Police. Very simple terms, that if this licence were to be granted as advertised, it's just out of kilter for other businesses and alcohol within Waltham Abbey itself. I accept the applicant's point that there is a premises in the vicinity that's looking to have a very similar, or to operate a similar. Based on that, on the balance of probability, the crime and disorder happening around 2:30, well, between 2 and 3 a.m. is out of kilter for other premises within the area. So other public houses, restaurants, there was no one else open at that time of the evening. Having dealt previously with other applicants, at 2:30 in the morning, there's no public transport. You can't get people away. You're looking at selling alcohol to people. So unless you have a nominated driver, which may or may not happen, if you're looking for public transport, and my investigations previously into how many cabs can be serviced at 2 o'clock on a Saturday or Sunday morning, it's really quite minimal, 2 or 3 cabs at most, unless you have a specific arrangement with a cab company. But there is a real risk that people are going to come out having had an evening of alcohol and just have no way of getting away, thus increasing the opportunity for crime and disorder. I don't intend to go into the public nuisance that was quite ably covered by my colleague. And I did enter into negotiations with the legal rep, but obviously the applicant was quite keen. No, he wanted the 2:30 finish. And that is quite simply Essex's point that that's just too late for this area.
Okay, thank you for your statement. Did you have any questions for Mr McManus? Okay, thank you. Members? Yeah.
Just one question, please. In your experience, have you found that limiting new people coming in, we spoke earlier about a condition of potentially restricting new people coming into the premises after 12 p.m, midnight, and would that mitigate some of the concerns you have around getting people away from the premises late and sort of disorderly behaviour in the evening if you haven't got people? It's going to be the people within the premises continuing to drink rather than potentially already intoxicated people coming and drinking more. I just wondered if you could share your opinion on that, please.
Yes, of course, sir. Two aspects to that, really. If I am in a pub in the town centre and it gets to finishing time and I know that there's another premises that I can get served alcohol, I'm going to preload, go there and continue to drink alcohol. The second point about does that limiting it until midnight? Not necessarily. It doesn't reduce the possibility of people requiring alternative forms of dispersal from the area. So two separate aspects to that. It's a go-to venue till 2:30, and then at the end of that, you've now got a belly full of beer, and you now need to get away from the premises or to get home with your group.
Okay, any more? Okay, do either of you wish to make a closing statement? Okay, would you like to make a closing statement?
Just recapping on what you've said, I understand a couple of points that we never really finalised, but yes, if it means, because you're saying between 2 and 3, so if I'm happy to shut at 2, if that makes it better for you, and I'm also happy to not have anybody enter the premises after midnight, I'm happy to enter that stipulation. I'm not particularly happy with the limiter side of it. That's down to you to decide. But I do believe, for me, commercially, I do need to get to 2 o'clock to allow me to stay in the game, as it were, to have people in my venue and to make sure that people book their events with me. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. We will go to deliberate on what we've heard and then come back and make a decision as soon as we'll announce a decision as soon as we're ready. Thank you. Okay, thank you for waiting. I've got a decision here, which I'll read out if the webcast has started, which it has. So the Licensing Subcommittee considered an application for a variation of the premises licence at Vince's Restaurant and Bar at 58 Sun Street, Waltham Abbey, in accordance with the details set out on page 41 of the agenda. The representations in support of and against the representations in support of and against the variation relating to the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance were also considered and taken into account. The Licensing Subcommittee has also considered and taken into account the 4 licensing objectives, the Council's licensing policy and the Secretary of State's guidance. During our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. The decision of this Licensing Subcommittee is the application to vary the premises licence in respect of Vince's Restaurant and Bar 58 Sun Street be granted for the following. Firstly, the supply of alcohol Thursday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Live and recorded music as applied for. Late night refreshment Thursday to Saturday, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Fourthly, opening hours Thursday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. And with the following conditions: all doors and windows will be closed from 11 p.m. when live and recorded music is being played, apart from allowing customers to enter and exit the premises. And there should be no new admissions of customers after midnight on any day. Other than this, there be no other variations to the current permitted hours for the sale of alcohol, the current permitted opening hours, the current permitted late night refreshment hours, and existing conditions on the licence other than as varied above. The Licensing Subcommittee, having considered the application to vary the premises licence, the representations made, the existing conditions on the premises licence, is of the opinion that the application as made would have an adverse effect on the promotion of the licensing objectives, namely prevention of crime and prevention of public nuisance, as referred to in the objections made by Essex Police, the Council's Community Resilience Team and local residents, and that the existing new and varied conditions will uphold the said objectives. Both the applicant and the persons who made relevant representations are reminded of their right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of the written notification of the decision. The applicants also reminded that if the conditions of the licence are breached, the matter can be reviewed by the licensing subcommittee and the premises licence can be looked at again. Thank you for your time this afternoon, everyone.